Welcome, everyone, to episode 28 of Full Court Magic. If you do not know me by now, I am Don Strouble. I am the host of Full Court Magic, and I am also the Orlando Magic beat writer for Roundtable Sports. I see we got a few new subscribers recently, so welcome and thank you for joining. As always, this episode is powered by Roundtable Sports, and you can find the link to our website in the description below. It has been growing rapidly and at a healthy pace, and we're very excited for the growth that we have been experiencing. So thank you for all your support. And if you have not joined yet, or your friends and family have not joined yet, and they are Orlando Magic fans and they want the latest news and updates, please have them join our sites. The Magic have ushered in a new era. Sean Sweeney had his introductory press conference yesterday, as he is now the new head coach of the Orlando Magic. And I was in the building at the Advent Health Training Center, listening to Coach Sweeney talk as I was getting video and photo. This is a coach that is very intentional and seems very driven. I a lot of times, like, you see people in press conferences, and that's really, like, not even just the media, but the fan base. Like, that's your first impression of a new coach, unless I'm sure some of my colleagues, talked some one-on-one with him, like maybe got to see more and hear more than what he offered in those 30 plus minutes at the podium with president of basketball operations Jeff Weltman. But by and large, that's your first impression. And we've seen good press conferences, we've seen bad ones. This was a great one. Sweeney was very detailed in his approach to addressing us and the larger fan base out there, in talking about his goals for this group. Obviously very thankful to the people who helped get him here, from the coaches he's worked under to his family, those who have inspired him. And he just seems like he's going to take a very honest approach to this job and this role, and that's something that he brought up nearly first and foremost after thanking everyone initially. And this is a long time coming for him. He's been in various assistant roles since breaking in with the then New Jersey Nets way back in 2011 as a video coordinator, and has just worked his way up to this point in his career. And one of the first things he said was, our team is going to be built on our values. We're going to value character. We're going to value competition. We're going to value connection. And we are going to value the game. He continued on to say, I love the game. I'm a competitor. I want to do things with integrity, and I want to make sure that we are connected in how we play. That's going to shape how we act every day. Our behaviors are going to be shaped upon our values. Went on to talk about preparation, attentiveness, active attention, and that's something that I think a young group like this Magic team needs, right? Like, this core of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Desmond Bain, and Jalen Suggs. We're talking about four guys that are not yet in or have just now reached their prime, right? This is a very young nucleus in a group that is largely unproven. They've shown that they have what it takes to make it to the postseason, right? And twice in the last 3 years, this group, with the exception of Desmond Bain, obviously last season was his first one with the team, but twice in the last 3 years, for the most part, this group has gone to 2 Game 7s in the first round, but just did not have the experience or the veteran presence, right, to take that next step. And these experiences matter, right? So now, yes, Sean Sweeney is a rookie head coach. You're getting kind of a similar type of deal that you did with Jamal Mosley. But Sweeney's been there and done it, right? And that's not to say that Mosley didn't. Mosley had been a longtime assistant too, and worked his way into that role and was very deserving. But twice in the last 3 years, Sweeney has been on a coaching staff of a team in the NBA Finals. Once with the Dallas Mavericks, 2024, and now at the San Antonio Spurs in 2026. Obviously, both of his teams lost, but he was integral in the development and coaching of a Luka Doncic, of a Victor Wembanyama, to help make them the best players on their team, a championship level team, right? And so now he's bringing that level of acumen, that level of his own experience to combine with the experience of Paolo, Franz, Desmond, and Jalen, right? And I don't see this being a Magic team that makes substantial moves this year or this offseason. I think that this organization is probably more so focused on getting as close to underneath the first apron as possible. But I, do believe that Sweeney is going to make the most of this group and do all he can to elevate it, at least at the bare minimum, to the second round of the playoffs, right? And so the Magic took some steps back last season in terms of their defensive identity. This was a team that in the 2024-25 season was number 2 in defensive rating during the regular season. Last season, I believe they fell to 13th. I'll have to double check my numbers, but outside of the top 10. So Sweeney was in charge of the Spurs defense as associate head coach on Mitch Johnson's staff, and he helped lead the Spurs defense to the number 3 defensive rating in the regular season and the number 2 defensive rating in the playoffs among the 16 participating teams, with only the NBA champion New York Knicks ahead of them. So Sweeney clearly has a feel for defense, but he understands that this is a Magic team that needs its offense improved. Right, I can't even say revitalized, because this has been a struggling offense for years now. That has not been the strong suit of this team. Physicality and defensive tenacity has been the strong suit of this team. So he understands that those improvements are going to have to come, but for him, the game is intertwined, right? And we heard that from Jamal Mosley too, how defense turns into offense. And Sweeney, he believes in that philosophy as well. He's had a lot of good mentorship to help him create his own basketball philosophy on both sides of the ball. And so that intertwined nature, what are we going to see from the Magic? Is their defense going to be able to get back to an elite point at which it was? And then in turn, will it improve the offense as well? And so, Sweeney also said that team is going to hold themselves to a high standard. The expectation is going to be high, and the expectation that matters the most is the one that's set internally, the one that's set by themselves. So, like, he made it very clear, this is not a group that's going to listen to outside noise or, placate to those kind of expectations, capitulate to those kind of expectations. This is going to be a team that sets its own standard, a high standard, and maintains that, right? And so he said, not what other people think, but what we want and what we do matters, and how we do it matters most. And so Sweeney seems very motivated. And he talked about, the confidence that he has in himself to be ready for this position. My colleague Jason Beatty asked that question. He said, "You mentioned you're 21 years building to this point. Why do you feel confident that you're ready now to be a head coach in the NBA? And what do you think that adjustment will be like at all?" And Sweeney was very candid in his response. He said, I think the biggest difference is that you have people who report to you much more directly from what I've already seen, right? So now he is at this head of leadership role, right? Like he is at the top of his position, after taking a step in his assistant coaching career last season by being the associate head coach of the Spurs, right? So now this is 2 years in a row, two big steps for him. And he said, but each day you put in time working on your craft, working on who you want to be as a coach. And for me, I want to teach and learn at the highest level I can. And I also want to compete at the highest level I can. And being a head coach here is going to allow me to do that selfishly. That's what I'm looking for. And so, he's in this position where now he gets to do things how he wants to, and now he gets to implement a culture that he has learned how to construct in a way, and now he gets to do it with his own identity. And it was interesting. Jonathan Isaac and Jamal Cain were among the players there at this press conference, but they were the only two in the front row within, just a few feet of Sweeney at the podium, uh, or the table rather, with Jeff Weltman. And it's interesting because uh, Isaac's future is likely the most uncertain among these players in terms of, and I don't even know if I can call it uncertain. I would, if I'm speaking candidly here, I believe he's gone by June 30th. I don't think that the Magic are bringing him back, not at that number. And so I think they're going to waive and stretch him, as Keith Smith of Spotrac talked about recently. Um, and that's going to give them a little bit of flexibility because, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, this is a team that's going to be more interested in cutting some of its costs and getting closer to getting out of that apron territory, because not only are they in the first apron, they're so deep in it. There are only about 3.5 million, a little more than 3.5 million away from being in the second apron. And this is not nearly a good enough roster to warrant the second or apron. First apron, sure, but ideally you want to try to get out of that, right? This is not a championship caliber team. Not right now, not yet. And so, you got a lot of money tied up. Yeah, in those four players, and Paolo, Franz, Desmond, and Jalen. And you gotta create and construct the right kind of group around them at the right price. And I've spoken ad nauseum about Jonathan Isaac. I've written ad nauseum this offseason so far about you know why the Magic should move off of him. And I've said what I needed to say, and that's where I'll leave it. But Sweeney looked at Isaac and Cain and talked about the importance of communication. And he said, not only do I want to communicate, but I want to listen, right? And he said, um he made some jokes in there and stuff, and tried to keep it lighthearted, but it was very earnest, right? Like it was very um authentic in how he approached it. And he seems like he wants to build a really strong relationship with the players in terms of like hearing feedback and understanding one another, not just talking at them but talking with them. And I think that that is paramount and so integral to creating the right culture in a team, especially as a new coach. So a lot of positives from Sean Sweeney in this one. Andrew Cherico and I are going to be, as you may have seen, already got some stories out, plenty more coming this weekend in regards to this press conference. But I just wanted to jump on here for a little bit and talk about, what I noticed about Coach Sweeney. And I think that Magic fans, I think you have a reason to be excited. Obviously, the results are going to matter most. Words without actions don't hold the same weight whatsoever. But I do believe in these summer months, there is some reason to be excited with this new leader here in the building. And so I'm going to try to get on another podcast soon with Andrew, so you guys can hear his thoughts about it. We can have a little bit more extended dialogue about what this press conference contained and, our takes on these things. But for now, I appreciate you guys joining me. I appreciate the new subscribers, the new people who have joined the Orlando Magic Roundtable. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. You guys are the fuel that keeps this engine running. And as always, we appreciate it. Until next time, happy Father's Day weekend. I'm Don Strouble, and this has been Full Court Magic.